Not to be a weeb main, but I really love Boku no Hero Academia. I love me a good shonen. So of course I'm gonna take the opportunity to talk about it in the video now that I have found a fitting subject. Season 5 is just around the corner, so what better time to talk about it than now? Anyways, I'm sure you the person watching this video right now, have had a headcanon before. Especially if you're trans. We kinda have to do it since we're starved of representation, which is very important, especially when you're figuring yourself out. However, we're kind of creative and we work our way around that. If the author won't give us trans representation, we'll make it ourselves. Danny Phantom, trans. My favorite headcanon because I'm sure it would piss Butch Fartman off. Wacko, non-binary, and it's canon too. Otis from Back at the Barnyard, trans. My king doesn't even bind. He knows that his body doesn't make him less of a man, and he embraces it. King shit, absolute king shit. Kirishima from Boku no Hero Academia. I'm alive! The trans energy is strong in this one. Like, come on, he designed his hero costume so that he's bare-chested. Of course he's gonna want to show off his top surgery result. Even in his description it says that he really likes manly things and meat. Not to say that you need to be hyper-masculine to be a trans man. They come in all shapes and sizes, but to some of us it's important to be considered manly, and unless it's to a toxic extent, there's nothing wrong with it, as long as we accept that this isn't the only way to be a man. What really does it for me though is the fact that he has a less traditional definition of what's considered manly. He's very considerate and cheery, not afraid to show emotions, will hype his friends up and isn't ashamed of crying. In fact, he would probably consider it manly to be vulnerable. I absolutely adore this headcanon because I see it as Kirishima trying to step into his own manhood and redefine it. This isn't canon, however, yet. There's still time to change that. Come on, Horikoshi. Confirm that Kirishima is stealth. Just kidding. It's his series and he chooses what to do with it. Please don't harass the creators just because their work didn't turn out the way you wanted. I mean, I hope most of you have common sense, so I shouldn't really have to say this. I mean, I think we all can agree that having a main character that is trans would be absolutely amazing. That's not to say there's no canonical trans people in Boku no Hero Academia. I honestly don't know if I forgot about it or if it just didn't register when I first watched it, but there's at least 2 of them right now. The first one we were introduced to was Yawara Katora, I'm sorry if I butchered it, or better known as Tiger.
The name's Tiger, and I'm here to beat you guys to a pulp.
From Wild Wild Pussycats.
We're the Wild Pussycats!
Which is a group of pro heroes that you probably remember from the Forest training camp arc. He's a 6'3" muscle bug with a rather macho and intimidating attitude.
That's right! Tear that weak quirk apart and make it stronger! Yes, sir!
I mean, yeah, there's probably 6'3" trans men, but unfortunately that's not really the case for a lot of us. Some of us are under 5'5", still we can be just as manly. His quirk is called Playa Body, which translates into soft body, and allows him to stretch, flatten and bend his body. He's also incredibly strong, whether that has anything to do with his quirk or if he's just on that grind, I don't know. Whether the case, he's trans, assigned female at birth and physically transitioned a long time ago. I recall reading somewhere that, quote, Tiger left for Thailand and came back a man, unquote. Honestly, can't remember if that was said in the series, because once again, for some reason it came as a surprise when I found out that he was trans. So it can't have been made that obvious. No matter the case, what we know for sure is that Tiger got his gender-affirming surgery in Thailand. I'm by no means an expert when it comes to surgery, obviously, I'm here on YouTube, lol. But I wonder if there was any specific reason they mentioned Thailand, and after some Google research, I found out about cosmetic surgery tourism, which I can recall hearing about but not paying much attention to. Thailand was also referred to as the capital of gender reassignment surgery, and found that some trans people choose to go to Thailand as to reduce waiting time, since you know it can take a ridiculous amount of time waiting, and unfortunately to some that can be devastating to their mental health. Me. I'm fucking suffering. I want out of this body. I understand that the process can take time, there's a waiting list and all of that, but that doesn't make some people's situation less dire. On top of that, it's also cheaper allegedly. I'm not comfortable saying whether going to Thailand for gender affirming surgery is good or bad because, hands up, I'm a moron. I'm just saying that this is something that happens. Now what makes me really love this character is that just like the rest of Wild Wild Pussycats, he wears a uniform, which is a dress along with cat ears, paws and a tail. I mean, that's king shit. He knows that wearing a dress doesn't make him less of a man, and that he has the same right as a cis man to be gender non-conforming. And please don't tell me that he can wear it because he passes. Just shut up. All trans women deserve respect, whatever the body might look like, dressed in whatever they like to wear. Just respect people, it's that simple. Funny enough, we're introduced to the series' second confirmed transgender character in the same arc, named
Kenji Hikashi!
But they call her
Villain named Magna!
Or rather Big Sis Magna, which I think is kinda cute. I have a lot of split feelings about her, so that's why I think it's more important that you arrive at your own conclusion. But even more important is that you listen to trans women and trans femmes, because they would know better if something is a good or bad representation of them. Still, I like to share some of my thoughts regarding aspects of her depiction. Even though her being a trans woman is more in your face compared to Tiger, I for some reason didn't really pick up on it, and that's on me. It's more understandable that Tiger being trans went over my head, but like, come on, if you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. It's like I turned off my brain whenever I watched Boku no Hero Academia, because everything said went through one ear and out of the other. When I first figured out that she was trans, my initial thought was, oh crap, this is problematic, because we're so used to trans women being the butt of the joke.
Mr. Garrison.
Mrs. Garrison.
Mrs. Garrison, you can't have an abortion.
Especially if they're not quote-unquote passable by society's standards. And as you can see, Magna isn't the epitome of traditional femininity. She has stubble, a square jaw, but most notably is very beefy. Though what really brings her into yikesy territory is the fact that she's a minor antagonist. Not saying that we shouldn't be able to make antagonists that so happens to be trans, but you gotta understand that it's extremely tricky to portray a character of a marginalized group in a way that doesn't make the viewers subconsciously associate these bad traits with trans people. We don't need any more of that Silence of the Lamb crap.
Put the fucking lotion in the basket!
However, I'm not completely against the idea of Magna. From what I can tell, her appearance was never used to invalidate her identity. Someone pointed out that just like some trans people in real life, her lifestyle doesn't really allow her to transition. I mean, seeing as she's affiliated with League of Villains, not that there's a League of Villains in real life that trans people are joining. Unless there is. If so, in case their leader's watching, you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm sure we could make an arrangement. Yeah, no, the point I was trying to make is that some people don't have access to medical treatment. Magna can't really get prescribed estrogen without getting arrested. Or maybe she just doesn't care for physical transition. We don't judge here, all we want is for people to be comfortable in their own skin and we respect their identity. Come here, buddy. Group hug. I love you. Anyways, I can sit here and come up with Magna headcanons all day, and trust me when I say I'd very much love to do that, but I gotta address the elephant in the room. That being that Boku no Hero Academia is a shonen anime that has made it into the mainstream, which is cool, but that also means that a lot of people that aren't already familiar with trans people and respectful of them are exposed to this character. Not that anime fans are respectful of trans people in the first place. Pretty sure they're the opposite of that. What I'm trying to say is that even more ignorant people are gonna see her, and I'm sure a lot of us already know too damn well how society reacts to trans people that doesn't really pass. Unfortunately, she's a stereotype of how TERFs portray trans women.
That's misogynistic! You just proved that you're male at heart! I'm gonna tell you!
Then again, there's women like this in real life, so I'm not saying they shouldn't be represented in media. But I think what's important is that you'd give more context rather than just showing us a more masculine character, call her she, and go, okay, y'all figure it out yourselves. Let me show you a thread from the Boku no Hero Academia subreddit that shows us how she's perceived by the unwokes. It's called Big Sis Magne, ? And starts out like this. I post this to explain to some people that may be confused why Spinner called manga a girl, in parenthesis cis, when she's clearly a guy, in parenthesis bro. I thought that I would explain that Magne is a transgender. Yes, I'm being serious. She's a girl, I'm not gonna say that word, in a guy body, or a guy trying to be a girl. Depending on the way you look at it. So if you wondered why they called Magne a she pronoun, that why. Edit. So yeah, her official gender is female. This isn't great by our standards. It's not explicit transphobia, I think. OP seems rather confused themselves, but they're trying, I'd assume. I don't know. Their need to clarify this publicly shows me that not a lot of people understand what's going on. Still, I'm not gonna sit here and tell Horikoshi, as if he's watching, how he should have written her since, first of all, I'm not a trans woman, and secondly, I'm speaking from a Eurocentric understanding of gender. What I can say, however, is that personally, I like that she wasn't presenting hyper-feminine in a way that was clearly meant to be comedic, all while her allies never misgendered her, and it wasn't made a big deal that they called her she, from what I can remember. At no point did anyone say, "What? She? That's clearly a he," and just make a big scene or even question it. Fact of the matter is that they even went out of their way to make it a point that you shouldn't misgender her. In one scene after Overhaul has killed Magne, oh, by the way, spoiler alert, Overhaul kills Magne. Anyways, when Overhaul talks about Magne, he misgenders her, which upsets both Twice and Toga, and rightfully so.
It's unfortunate. I didn't want to kill him.
You mean her?
Don't make that mistake again.
If we ignore the fact that the trans woman was literally murdered, yikes, I guess it's cool of them to insist that she shouldn't be misgendered whether she passed or not. Okay, it's not really groundbreaking representation, but what am I to do when the bar is literally on the floor, Karen? My point is that I would have changed a few things, but I like the concept of showing a non-passing trans character that isn't made the butt of the joke, and people respect their identity and pronouns without ever really making a big deal out of it. What I liked even more is the flashback she had right before she died. Okay, damn, this was copyrighted, so I'm just gonna describe it. Basically, Magne is attacking Overhaul with her giant magnet, and she's like, "I met my old friend who told me that those who are bound by the chains of society laughs at those who aren't." And then there's a flashback to a friend who says, "You're not bound by those chains, but I don't have the courage to break away from them the way you do." Back to the video, bye. Like, come on, I think a lot of trans people have a more intimate understanding of what it means to break free from the chains of society. In my experience, you don't just transition as soon as you realize you're trans. Some of us spend years contemplating our place in society and whether transitioning is worth the risk. Taking the final step breaks you free of those chains, and though some of us are bound to live a life as an outsider, the sacrifice is so worth it when you're allowed to be who you want to be. That's just how I interpreted Magne's role in the League of Villains. That being said, I can't move on without acknowledging her and her friend's design. Like I said, I'm all for them having a more masculine build, but this is ridiculous. They made both of them burlier than even the cis men. Yes, there's buff trans women, there's buff cis women, and that's dope. But in this case, it feels more like a deliberate choice to make the contrast more jarring. Your average person does not look like this. I think what really makes it a horrible design when it comes to her friend at least, is her goddamn outfit. I don't think I would have cared half as much if it wasn't for the fact that she looks like Olga from Hey Arnold. Girl, please, I'm begging you, change the clothes. I've never seen anyone wear anything like that. She's dressed like a little girl. Actually, no, I've seen kids dress better than that. You get the point. Also, I want to emphasize that trans people aren't a monolith, and there's probably people out there with a completely different opinion. So I invite you to share them in the comments. Trans people, cis people, please take a backseat and listen to those it concerns. Maybe the trans people have thought about something I haven't. Now, these are the only confirmed trans characters that I know of, though I'm pretty sure there's a few others that are up for debate. For example, I don't think it's explicitly stated, but I'm pretty sure 13 could be considered non-binary. In the character sheet they're referred to as he, but in the anime they're referred to as she. I use a they right now because I'm unsure what the official pronouns are. I mean, it could be he, she. If so, I'm sorry. But I've seen some sources use they, and I don't know if he, she was a way to work around that. Maybe it was lost in the translation, I don't know. What we do know, however, is that they were meant to be androgynous, and it's even stated that it's unknown what they were assigned at birth. Then there's another character sheet that's been floating around of a student that is referred to as they, them, and everyone is assuming it's a non-binary character. I mean, I'm a bit skeptical about it. I don't even know if they're gonna be in the series or if it's just a background character. Their pronouns could be a translation error, and also not all MBs use they, them pronouns. Still, it's fun to imagine. I think it would be cool if they were non-binary, since they're wearing the female uniform and it's very femme presenting overall. And that's something I want to see more of in media. Whenever there's a non-binary character, they're always tall, white and skinny with short hair. Yes, I'm guilty of creating a character like that, I'm sorry. So this video has been a real palate cleanser. It's fun to talk about because this is something that slipped my mind while watching. It's not much, but I wanted to share it because it's something that made me happy upon discovering. Even better would be if we had someone trans in the main cast, but there's still time. I mean, come on, Trans Kirishima gang, rise up. This is all I had to say for those who came for the Boku no Hero Academia stuff. Please like if you enjoyed this video and maybe even consider subscribing. If you want to leave, you have my permission. Thank you very much. I love you. For those of you that are interested in my personal projects, I just want to take the opportunity to talk about my upcoming comic. It is a prequel of the comic that is my pinned tweet about the non-binary cashier as a kid and how they discovered themselves. It's only 14 pages and I've worked on it for a little bit less than a year, but I'm doing it all by myself. It's actually done, kinda. I'm doing the details, but it's readable because I want to send it into a contest. Unfortunately, I'm not satisfied with what I sent in, but I gave it a shot. No matter the case, I'm gonna finish it up and release it sometime, hopefully in the near future. So if you're interested, it would mean the world to me if you hopped on Twitter and followed me, because that's where you're most likely to get updates about where and how I'm gonna release it. But I'm trying. And I hope that you watching is trying too, with whatever the heck it is you're doing with your life. Something that became apparent to me these past couple of days is that I can only do my best, and that's enough. And I want to remind you of that, because I can be really harsh to myself for not living up to my own expectations. I just think we all need to be nicer to ourselves. Take care. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you.